Howdy. Welcome to part one of Your Identity in Christ. I want to start off by asking you a question. Have you ever wondered who you are and why you're here on planet Earth? Would it surprise you to know that we're all born with a desire to know the answers to those questions? Often the answers to those questions are referred to as your identity and your destiny or your purpose. Now the world tells us we're all here by chance, that we've evolved from lifeless matter, have no purpose for being here, and that our identity needs to be based on our performance or our possessions or our associations. Things like how much money you make, or fame you can achieve, or power you can attain, or who you know or where you went to school or the neighborhood you live in. Of course, the world's philosophy is a lie from Satan. Even so, the majority of people have bought into this way of thinking. Now, before we go any further, I want to define what I mean when I talk about your identity. Your identity has to do with your being as a person. How do you see yourself? Ultimately, the question that we want answered is, am I valuable? What am I worth? We all want to believe that we are valuable and that our life, our existence really does matter, and it does. Your destiny or your purpose is about your doing. Why am I here? Do I have something to do, and am I adequate to do it? Well, as I said, deep down, we all want to have these questions answered. Now listen to this. Trying to get these questions answered is very often what drives your behavior. Let me say that again. Trying to get these two questions answered is very often what drives your behavior. Most people live on a performance-based value system. They labor, they struggle their entire life trying to prove to themselves and to others that they're valuable. And worse, they often don't even realize why they're doing it. And as you may have discovered, the struggle eventually will wear you out. When you know your true identity and your purpose, it can set you free from having to work to prove that you're valuable. Let's go just a little bit deeper. We all have inner needs and desires. We all have a need to be loved, accepted, significant, in other words, important, to be secure and adequate to fulfill the purpose that we have. These are all God-given needs of our soul. We're all created with these needs, and when these needs are met, we feel valuable. And furthermore, it's essential that these needs be met in order for us to function as God intended. If that doesn't make perfectly good sense to you, you may want to read God's Design for Man on our website. Think about this. Why do men join gangs? To gain acceptance. Why do women sometimes live a promiscuous lifestyle? To get love. Why do sometimes people work real hard to attain prestigious titles or positions of power, becoming significant? Well, guess what? These things do not ultimately meet our God-given needs and desires. Our needs, our desires, are only met in the person of Jesus Christ. We're complete in Christ, it says in Colossians chapter 2. And in Him we have all we need for life and godliness in 2 Peter 1. Ultimately, our true identity is found in Christ. Sound too simple? Well, it is. It's a walk of faith, moment by moment, believing what God says about you. But beware, there's always a reasonable alternative to the faith walk, and our enemy will be quick to suggest one. In closing, let me encourage you to do this. Ask yourself and God this question. What am I doing to try and prove that I'm valuable? I'm going to give you a hint. Whatever makes you feel valuable will usually control you. My struggle, well, for much of my life, I based my value on my appearance. I worked hard to look as good as possible. I became obsessed with exercise, which eventually led me to enter bodybuilding competitions. My exercise routines controlled me because I got my identity from my appearance. Then one day I realized I couldn't keep up with the aging process. Fortunately, I began to realize that my identity was in Christ Jesus and not in my appearance. So I hope you'll join us for part 2 of this series on how do we get into this mess. And until then, remember, you have a choice every minute of every day. So choose life. Thanks for listening.